Welcome to today's episode of Care Sandwich. I am excited to introduce you to my next guest, Bianca. She is the mastermind behind a beautiful branding company. I'm a really big fan of their work, and I cannot wait to introduce you to her. But first, watch this video.
Welcome to Care Sandwich, the podcast where we dive into the success journeys of law firm owners across the country. I'm Margarita Eberline, your host and the founder of Marketing Boss, a fractional chief marketing officer firm for law firms. On this show, we'll explore the challenges, strategies, and victories that have shaped law firms and how they wrap every interaction with care. Because we believe that caring isn't just a value, it's a strategy for success. So grab your favorite sandwich, sit back, and let's dig into a conversation filled with insight, inspiration, and of course, a lot of care.
Bianca, welcome to the Virtual Care Sandwich podcast stage.
Hello, thank you. I'm super excited to be here today.
I am excited to interview you because when I saw your website and I saw your branding, I was like, we're connected. I don't know if you know this. When Marketing Boss first started and when my brand was first created, I had this one of those dreams where I was like, what's my brand purpose, right? And I thought about the queen bee. And I thought about how the queen bee, and I don't know if you know what Marketing Boss does, but I thought about how the queen bee is the optimal servant leader. Like, it's a queen, but it's all about service. And I was like, that's what I want my company spirit animal, if you call it a spirit animal, spirit bug, to be, because I want to be like a queen bee where we just replicate everything that's great about marketing for our companies that we work with so that they can actually get really good results and have an efficient marketing machine. So we have something called the marketing machine that we build out with, data-driven strategies. But anyway, I saw that your brand, talk to us about your brand. I was geeking out. I was like, I get it. So yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. That's kismet, as they say, right? The little connections there. I absolutely love that. And I obviously resonate with that because it is one of our elements of our brand. So just to quickly introduce myself, I am Bianca Paggi. I am the CEO and founder of Branding with B. We are a bilingual branding, marketing, and branding agency. So we work with both Spanish and English speaking founders, which is very important to me because I am also Salvadoreña. So that's very important to me to be able to connect with my heritage. But when we were coming up with, the whole branding concept of what we were going to do, the bumblebee is very, special to me. Obviously, my name is Bianca. So my nickname growing up, there was a bee, but also my soccer team when I was younger was the bumblebees, but also, everything that I do, and this is kind of where marketing and branding comes into play, is that everything has to be strategic and intentional when you are choosing those elements to either describe or represent your business, right? What's the underlining message and everything like that? And kind of to your story with the queen bee, the bumblebee, technically they should not be able to fly because they're so chunky with the chunky little bodies and their thin little wings. They shouldn't, aerodynamically be able to, but they make them possible. And so obviously, aside from my personal, connection with the bumblebee, I love the meaning behind it because they make them possible. And that's exactly what I want my clients to feel when we're working with them, is that I want them to feel like we are giving them the tools to make them possible because as a founder and doing something, going out on your own when you're leaving corporate and whatever field you're in, it's one of those things that it's like you get met with a lot of adversity and people are like, that's never going to happen. It's, a lot of negativity. And I wanted it to be that space where we can tell them hey, we're going to be by your side and we're going to help you make them possible to others, right? Possible with giving you these tools. So that's where the bumblebee has a lot of importance and significance to the client journey and the relationship that we want them to have, but also the personal side. So I love that we have that little
Yes.
connection with the B and like what we want it to be. And like you said, with the queen bee, it's kind of that like, the systems and the service, and it's not just one person, it's this whole beehive of working together to get the job done. And I really
Yes.
resonate with that because that's the whole purpose. Like, right, it's teamwork. How do we do the things
Hmm.
and systems to get to the end goal for your business, or what's that next goal to keep building and producing at the end of the day?
Yeah, I teach law firm owners and help them realize that they think they have marketing issues, but what they have is SOP issues, systems issues, structural issues, all the boring stuff. The other
Yeah.
thing that we also really, really promote has to do with what you do. I feel like branding is one of the best growth hacks and most underutilized things that can really, really scale businesses, because I don't think people connect because it's not tangible, like
Yeah.
sales is tangible, like you can count the sales. It's hard to measure branding and the impact of branding, I'll put it that way. But as a fractional CMO who analyzes data creatively, I see it. Here's how I see it, and then I want you to give law firm owners some tips. The way that I
Mm-hmm.
see it, if you have all the right tactics in place, all the technical strategies in place, like keywords, SEO, all of that, and you have the perfect media mix, but your brand isn't sticky, you're wasting your money. It's that simple. Like, when you do not slow down long enough to think, what is my mission and vision? What is my spirit bug animal? Like, what message, who's my target avatar? What messaging? Like, you will succeed because you're going to throw money at your marketing. So you have to succeed. You're going to get something. But the biggest
Mm-hmm.
gap that I see when I look at data and the data is telling me a story that stuff isn't working, but then all the targeting is right, like there are elements that tell me it should be working, I always know it's got to be the brand. It's got to be the top of the funnel. I always joke, the law firm owner with a picture from the 80s where she has a mullet, right? Like, that's your problem. Like, I
Yeah.
use that because it's such an easy visual where you're like, oh yeah, I get it. I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
No,
so talk to
it's
us
true.
about yeah. So talk to us about what are your best tips for law firm owners that are like, do I really need this? Do I really need to like pause to figure this stuff out? Like, what's the point? How is it going to help me? Like, talk to us about that.
Hey there, I hope you're enjoying the conversation and your sandwich as much as we are. I want to take a moment to share a few words about our sponsor, Marketing Boss. If you're a law firm owner looking to supercharge your growth, our team at Marketing Boss is here to help. We've got over a decade of experience and a proven track record, and we specialize in growing law firms like yours with data-driven marketing leadership. So if you own a law firm and you're ready to get a predictable, steady flow of cases from your marketing, let's connect at marketing-boss.com.
Yeah, now I love that you speak about that. And, it's one of those things that, obviously you and I understand, a lot of the importance of it because it's in our niche, right? It's in our wheelhouse. And especially when it's not necessarily something that is tangible, it makes it just a little bit harder. But I always like to kind of dive in with it. Like, the first easy example of it is kind of like, if you're an attorney and just like someone in general, but especially like an attorney, that imagine how if you were to go into, a trial, right? A litigation, that if you had all of the strategy of like, these are my arguing points, this is how I'm going to win the case, right? All the systems, if you would, like in a marketing situation, but you showed up in a very, like, say you showed up like in a velvet suit, something very dated, or it didn't look like the part, people are
Yes.
not going to take you seriously, right? And that's the same thing with your branding, right? That's from the visual perspective. Because again, branding is more than just logo and colors, but it is the tip of the iceberg, that it is very important because the perception is reality, whether it's true or not. Because what's the perceived value that when people look at you, are they going to match and say, yes, whatever you are charging I see that and I say, yes, it matches back to how you are showing up yourself and in your
Mm,
business for me to be like, yes, let me pay you, right? But if you were to see someone that it's a very dated look and feel, you're going to be like, wait, there's a disconnect with how you're showing up visually to what you're asking for, and I don't know if I'm going to trust you to invest in your high ticket. Because again, any attorney, regardless of what level you are or starting at, it is a higher ticket investment for anybody. So you want to make sure from a visual perspective, you are standing and you're showing up to what you want people to perceive you correctly. Don't let the consumer dictate that at the end of the day. So you want to make sure that you're controlling that narrative. And then that then trickles down into, you know, who's your ideal client avatar? Am I showing up in a way that's going to resonate and speak to them? Because they are the
mhm.
ones that are purchasing your services. So if you are showing up in a way that isn't speaking to your ideal demographic, then you're leaving so much money on the table. You can have the best marketing strategy, systems in place, all of that stuff. But if you don't, if you're talking to the wrong people, it doesn't matter. You're just going to be throwing stuff, throwing spaghetti to the wall and hoping it's going to stick. But who your people are. So if you don't know who your people are and you're not establishing that at the beginning, then it doesn't matter how good an oil of a machine you have in your marketing and systems
Gonna
of
hit a
your
ceiling.
SEO, any of that stuff, you're not going to get the results and conversions that you want. So that's why it's so important to, before you get into any of that, because they all work together. You can't have successful marketing or ads or any systems without having a really well done brand foundation. So you always have to have that brand foundation, because it's kind of like, think about like a house, right? You're not going to build a house without a strong foundation to add on, the beautiful design, to have the heating and all of that stuff, if it's just going to fall apart. So you want to have that solid foundation that's going to make one, you stand out, because again, none of us are geniuses that we're doing something that doesn't already exist. So having that solid foundation that's going to dictate your messaging, your tone, your values, what makes you unique, why are people going to go to you versus, you know, Amy who does the exact same thing as you? And then how, by through developing that, how is that going to translate into your visuals using psychology and emotion? Because people make their purchasing decisions subconsciously. It's not a conscious decision. So that's where you have to take, color psychology, font psychology, and implement that into your branding, then into your website design. And even if you're doing ads, are you doing that implementation into your ads? Do they, A/B testing? Does this one perform better based on XYZ, based on my audience? So it's all of those things that trickle in to make sure that you have that successful strategy, but it all starts at the beginning with that solid brand foundation and developing that so that you can have success with the rest at the end of it.
I love it. Those are some really great tips. So I'm going to ask you this. If a law firm
Yeah.
owner is listening and is like, oh my God, yeah, my brand looks like someone's going to go to jail. My logo looks like it smells like cigarettes. Um, how can they get in touch with you, Bianca? And then what's it like to work with you?
Yeah, I would say, you can either visit us at our website. Easiest way is honestly just to email me at hello at it's branding with B, or my website down here, as you can see, it's branding with B, or Instagram. It's the same. It's branding with B. There we go. Love the quickness there. And when working with me, I like to say it's like I treat it as if it were my own business, because I understand, what it feels like to go from corporate to starting your own business. And that's why I started my business. I wanted it to, I know the transition, I know what it goes like. And so I want people to know that I will treat your business the same way that as if it were my own, because I've been through that process. I understand. And I want to give you the support that you need to take your business to that next level so that you can still have that credibility that you had in corporate all those years. Let's take it to this and build it here so that you can continue that legitimacy that you had all those years of experience. You don't have to start from the ground up. We're just transitioning it into this new phase of you're your own boss. Let's put it to where you're at now and where you're wanting to go. And I'm your bestie to get you to that point, and we're right there by your side to get you and elevate you to that next level to create a buzz.
I love it. So there you have it, folks. Get with Bianca. If your marketing, again, hear me now, if your marketing strategy is on point, if you feel like you've hit a ceiling when it comes to your ROI with your tactics, you could have a branding issue. So get with Bianca, find out if there are improvements that she and her team can make, and rock and roll. Bianca, I have one more question for you before we wrap up. And that is the most important question, no judgment. What is your favorite sandwich?
Oh, I love this question. I am a big foodie. I would say my favorite sandwich is a prosciutto, mozzarella, and arugula with a little fig jam on top.
That is very fancy. I like that. And I don't think I've had that. I need to try that. That sounds amazing.
Try
the
it
salty
out.
sweet. Okay.
Yeah, that like sweet and savory part, it's a nice little combination.
I'm all about that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, thank you so much, Bianca, for being such an amazing guest. I loved all your tips. We're going to release this on Spotify pretty soon. So look out for that, folks. And those of you that joined us live, I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you on the next episode of Care Sandwich.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Care Sandwich. Remember, the way we care for our clients, our teams, and ourselves can make all the difference in our success. Until next time, keep caring, keep growing, and I'll see you on the next episode of Care Sandwich.